Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar, which is the penultimate webinar in the series of Data Management 2025, a credible badge, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there. Today's session, and the penultimate session, is on inactive records. My name is Matt. I'm going to be guiding you through the process in Sage 50 today. What I would recommend, if you can, if you've got the ability, open up your demonstration data, if willing, if your system can allow for it, and you can click along while I'm going through these processes. Other than that, though, I will be going through demonstrations, so if you don't want to do that, you don't have to, and you'll also get a copy of the recording afterwards. But anyway, I'm going far too far ahead of myself there. Let's have a recap on the Data Management Badge 2025. So these are the sessions that we've covered so far, from backing up all the way through to today, which is flagging records as inactive to hide them from your lists. And then we are going to be running a fun quiz on Friday for you, which is going to be myself and Michael hosting and delivering the questions, of which once you've attended, you'll unlock the badge will be sent to you. But remember, it is mandatory. If you do want that lovely badge in the bottom right-hand corner there, you must attend the quiz. So if you haven't, register for it now. We will be running it again next week for those of you who maybe have a conflict in schedule. So what are we going to cover today, though? More about today. Well, obviously, inactive records. We're going to have a look at an introduction. What are they? What do people use them for? And what's the process itself? Then we're going to have demonstration. And demonstrations plural there, because I'm going to be dipping back and forth from the slides just to show you little things and tips and tricks as well that can help you manage your inactive records better. Like everything, including deleting records as well as making them inactive, there is certain criteria, so we'll touch on that and what you have to meet in order to make something qualify to be an inactive record. How to reactivate the records as well. Pretty much you'd think, oh, it's just a reverse of what I've done, but there is other things you can do in order to get those records reactivated. And then obviously alternatives to deleting the records as well. At the end, as always, we will go through the further support, Q&A, if we have time for it. Now the rules, you'll know them if you've been before. If not, these are the rules. Your microphone is muted automatically. So if you cough or sneeze, you're not going to interject or interrupt anything that we are doing. So please don't worry about that. Your microphones cannot be activated. You can download a handout as well. There's a black and white version and a color version. If you're like me and you like to print things off and write on them, the black and white version is printer friendly. But if you just download the handout anyway and keep it on your PC or laptop, you'll be able to click on the links that are in there. That'll guide you through to the Help Center articles we've loaded with some other hints and tips for you on managing your data. As always, you've got that speech bubble there with a question mark in, and that is to ask us questions. We are joined today by Michael. Michael will be exercising his sage brain with the questions that you're asking him. We'll try and answer as many as we possibly can in the 30 to 45 minutes that we have. If we can't answer them, again, as we always do, we'll be in touch with you afterwards via email directly to answer that question and give you some more information. But please ask away. We will prioritize questions on the subject matter first. Anything else potentially is just going to be tidied up afterwards. Have no fear. As always as well, you will be sent a copy of the recording an hour after. So if you do want to re-watch because you get interrupted for any reason, then don't worry, you'll have a copy of that sent to you. Without further ado, let's go straight into it, shall we? So inactive records, what are they? Like deleting records, inactive records is helping to keep your accounts tidy and more manageable, but without the permanent nature of deleting something. Hiding it essentially, putting the book back on the shelf rather than popping it into the bin or what have you. And you can flag these records individually, or you can do batch changes to it, but obviously that's not available in Essentials as it says on the screen there. So professional users, you'll be able to do multiple of these at once if needs be, if you're just having an initial clear out. If it's a case of just recognizing a customer recently as one that you're not going to be dealing with for whatever reason for X amount of time, then obviously you can just do it individually. And it is as simple as a checkbox, just to hide that record. But you've got to have the qualifying criteria in order to do so. Now, this ability is available in what you see in front of you there: customers, suppliers, nominal codes, bank accounts, and also product as well. The mechanics are virtually the same for each and every single one, potentially slightly different criteria which I'll go over with you, but it's nothing too complex. Today's webinar is a nice, easy one for you. If you're doing a quiz on Friday, you should be getting top marks. I might be preempting something there, but you should be getting top marks because it's a fairly reasonable process once you get the hang of it, as always. So why would you flag your records as inactive? Well, maybe you don't want to delete them. Maybe they can't be deleted. Maybe there's still transactions on the activity that are unsettled and you just want to hide them. When your clear audit trail doesn't remove all transactions, maybe system-based, or maybe just you-based, you don't want to clear them. Again, just hide them. And that emphasized by the last dash there, you don't want to clear your audit trail. This is another option for you to hide those records. So historically, this wasn't a feature that was available. Way back when, previous versions, you would actually have to rename an account to do not use and then go through the filter system and select different categories and subcategories in order to hide this file. Now, it's a tick box. So again, it's us listening to try and make things easier for you. And I will mention it again, but records must meet the specific criteria. Otherwise, you're swimming against the tide, essentially. So as long as the criteria is met, this option is perfect for you if you don't want to delete anything. Without further ado, as I always say, it's best to see it in action, isn't it? Rather than hear me talking about it. So those of you who can open up your demonstration data, I've got mine in front of us here. You'll know it's demonstration data from your stationary and computer mod at the top there. Again, if you want to watch the recording and click along later, feel free to do that. Not a problem at all. I'm going to focus on customers today, because again, as I said, the mechanics behind this are roughly the same every single time. So by clicking on customers, first off, what I want to see is A1 designs here. Let's say that I've done business with them last week. Everything's now up to date, and I know I'm not going to do business with them again until next August. They're an annual customer. All I would do is double click into the record, and there's the tick box there, inactive. And then I would just click save. Then I would click close. And you can see it is definitely inactive now. That's Y represents yes in the inactive box. Now let's say also Fred Bryant. Let's click on Fred here. Same process again. Annual customer, double click on the record. When the customer record opens, on the details section, inactive here. Put a tick in the box, click save, and then close. Very easy. And now I've got a clear visibility of these records being inactive. Now I just did two individually there. Now I'm just going to undo what I've done just to show you how you could do this in professional, potentially quicker. So again, A1 Designs and Fred. What I would do is select them both, A1 Designs and Fred Bryant. Click on Batch Changes, and this loads the Batch Changes window. As you can see, because I'm doing batch changes, multiple accounts are going to be affected. There's only certain criteria that I can change here. And what I would do then is put a tick in the box for inactive, click save. Do I want to save it? Because I'm going to make it to multiple records. Sage is just double checking. Click yes, and there we have it. So that's perfect world scenario. And again, I'm going to slow the process down for undoing the inactive checkbox. I rushed it last time just to show you that batch change, but I'm going to slow it down a wee bit now. Let's say next week Fred's been in touch with me and he says, yeah, no, I'm not going to speak to you, Matt, until August, but I want to put another order in. I would find his record, double click, and then just untick. Easy as that. Or the other option I could do is create an invoice against A1 Designs in this instance. If I was to do an invoice, select, A1 Designs, a message will pop up. The customer selected has been set as inactive. To continue, you must reactivate the customer. Do you want to reactivate the customer and continue? So instead of Sage just saying, no, you can't do that, and then having to sit and figure out why before realizing it was an inactive account, it's prompting me, telling me what the problem potentially could be, and I'll just click yes. And then I'm free to do my customer invoice on them. So a lot of information to take in there. Let's just have a quick recap of what I did. To make it inactive, perfect world, select the customer, double click, tick in the box, done. And that is noticeable from the Y in this column here. Now you can see why this is going to be an easy webinar to count towards the badge. And then we had Fred Bryant. Again, I'm just going to do it individually just to recycle the information. Inactive, click save, jobs are good. And I can see these inactive accounts in my list. I can even organize my list by who's inactive. So if I was to click at the top here, click it twice, there you can see all my inactive accounts now are at the top, and that's because I've organized it via this column. And I can still see them. But you may be asking yourself, well, I don't want to see them. That's why I've made them inactive. I can help you out there. Top right-hand corner here of your screens, you should see include inactive with a tick box on. If I was to untick that box, they're now not visible. They still exist, but they've been hidden. So if you want to see them again, good question just coming from Hannah there. I was just about to answer that one. When I click the inactive tick box, my customer disappears from view, unlike on your view. How do I toggle to see them again? Well, put a tick back in that box, and then it will reveal itself to you. Nice and simple again. So the inactive records, it's basically you can have them visible for an instance. Your business reasons may be different. If you just want to see who you haven't done business with in a while, who is actually inactive. And then the top right hand corner, if you've got no interest in knowing who's inactive at the moment, just hide them. Very simple to do. Very simple to do. And for the professional users out there, the batch changes is a bit of a game changer as well. And I'm going to just show you a little bit of a tip here if you do use anything above essentials. What you can do, and actually if you wanted to do this individually, you could do as well. So I retract that. If you do want to use this mode of weeding out your who should be inactive versus active, this is the way to do it. So moving on to the criteria. Bring my slides back up here. This will show us perfectly how to demonstrate it. You may have noticed, and the eagle-eyed of you may have noticed, that that was perfect world because they had no balances. Therefore, also no transactions allocated, nothing overhanging or anything like that at all. So those are the two biggest pieces of criteria. All of them matter the same, but those are the two biggest pieces of criteria that we get calls on. The third one is if there's recurring items set up for bank accounts, invoices, credits, or sales orders, because an explanation for that is essentially they are still active. So Sage has detected that they're active somewhere else in the program. So it's going to prompt you to say, well, you can't make this record inactive because X, Y, and Z. It's still got a recurring item in. So they're the main three. The top two are the biggest call drivers that we get, people calling in. The third one there is a bit of a red herring. Just in case, you do have a recurring item set up, always check that first. Sage will even tell you if it's there before you try and make a record inactive. And the logic behind it is that they are still active if there is a recurring item. Two of the lesser known reasons is a payo. There must not be the default customer. If they are, have to get that changed. Contact our tech support or go to sage.co.uk/help in order to do that. An accountant link must not be in recording mode on the version 28 and below only, there are fewer regarded reasons for not being able to mark an account inactive. But making the transactions allocated is a big one as well. So no payments on account, make sure everything matches and everything is linked to something. Because if a payment isn't linked to an invoice, it's still just there as a payment on account and it's floating. Therefore, Sage software will presume it's still active and open, waiting to be closed. So no unfinished business. If you are going to be making a customer inactive, let's say, unfortunately, they've gone out of business and they have a balance left on their account, if you want to either delete them or make them inactive, it's up to you which one you choose, then you'll have to organize that balance. And by that, I mean, is it just being credited off? Are they going to make a part payment so that you credit the rest off? These are things in your back office that you'll have to know in order to correctly input it into Sage before you can flag it as inactive. Hopefully that's clear. So let's have a look in the example of that again. So let's say batch changes. Let's say I've sat down at my desk and I want to know all the customers that I have currently who I can mark as inactive. What I would do is I would load up my customer screen as we have here, include inactive is on, and I would organize by balance. Because straight away that's going to tell me that these potentially are customers that could be marked as inactive. Maybe you've got them from 1997 and they're just lying there and they've not done anything. If you're using batch changes, select them all. I'm going to slip one in there. So then batch changes here, click inactive, and then click save. Again, it's going to warn me. You've chosen to make changes to multiple records. Do you want to save them? Yes. Yes, I do. Superb. However, again, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have realized what I did there. Not all accounts could be set as inactive. Only the accounts that meet the criteria have been set as inactive. So I'll click OK. And what I've done there is I'd accidentally included ABS Garages Limited, who have a balance. So Sage isn't just going to blankly follow an instruction and say, yeah, we'll set them as inactive. It's still going to warn us and tell us, no, can't do this one. So now I have my list of inactive customers I'm not going to be using, and I'm going to hide them. However, I do know in this scenario, in this made-up scenario in demonstration data, I do know that ABS garages are somebody that I'm not going to be dealing with anymore. And I'm just going to write off that £147.77. But if I try and make them inactive individually outside of the batch changes option here, Sage is going to tell me why I can't do it. And the reason I can't do it is because the account balance is not zero. So in that example that I gave you there, saying a company had gone bust, unfortunately, we're just going to make the record inactive for now. We've got a balance so we can't. What you may want to do is zero that balance off. I'm not going to teach you how to do all this because it's as simple as applying a credit, essentially. ABS Garages, there we are. I'm just going to pay that in full, save, click close, and now the account balance is at zero. I should be able to set it as inactive, which I can. And I'll show you that there. So now ABS Garages is at zero. Brilliant question came in from May just now saying, when you highlight or choose the customer, you can just click away. I can't click continuously. Please advise. Now that is all down to an environmental setup that you have within the program itself. So we have Windows select mode, or we have Sage selection. With Sage selection, I can click on multiple records at once and they will stay highlighted. In order to change that, let me just quickly remember, I'm having a bit of a mind blank here. but where the environment is, give me 2 seconds. There we are. Okay. So in order to change that, if you want the Sage selection mode, which I have here, by clicking on records without having to click away, these are the changes you'd have to make. So if you can, click along. You would go to Tools, Options, and it'll bring up this box here. And what you can do is click on Environment and Sage Selection Style. That stops you having to hold down the Shift button or the Control button in order to select multiple records at once. So if you do click on Windows Selection Style, which I will do now, and I go back to Customers, when I click About, nothing remains highlighted. I would have to physically hold down my Control button, as pointed out by Yoita there, thank you, in order to do that. But to make it easier for me, Tools, Options, close Windows because I haven't done any processing, click on Environment, and I would select Sage Selection Style. Once I've done that, I can just click away without holding the Control button. Doesn't affect any settings on your Windows PC, only within the software that changes that. And that is called the Sage Selection Style. And thanks for pointing that out, mate. Thanks for pointing that one out. It's a good spot. So if I want to make these active again, I have to go through it individually. So select which ones I want to be reactive and not change it via the batch option. So again, back to the slides, just to confirm the criteria. Account balance is at 0, transactions allocated, no active recurring items. Essentially, nothing that tells Sage that this person is still in active business with you, put it that way. And then the lesser known are payo, not to be the default customer, and accountant link must not be in recording mode on version 28 and below only. Now, I did mention different criteria potentially across the board because you're not going to have account balance 0 in your products, but just assume that to be stock levels. So obviously, nothing in stock, nothing on order, nothing allocated, nothing like that at all. Everything perfect and ready to go, just for you to make that record inactive. So it's the same mechanics, just slightly different wording. The wording does change when it comes to bank account. So when you go to make a bank account inactive, let's say it's something that you haven't used in a while, you don't want to delete it. Again, you just want to hide it from your bank accounts list. You click on inactive, you may get this message. This account could not be placed as inactive as it is a ratio account. Again, it's quite a popular call, this one. Let me go through that with you. Any questions again on the inactive records, keep them coming in. Me and Michael are more than keen to answer them. But let's go to the bank account section here. And like by Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. I have a bank deposit account, 0 balance. I'm going to double click and I want to make it inactive. Again, just a tick in the box, nice and simple. If Windows wasn't trying to whole screen it there, beg your pardon, let me just quickly shrink this down if I can. There we are. And I will click Save. Now, the message that was on the slide has popped up. This account could not be placed as inactive as it is a ratio account. You may never have heard of that before because there's very little use area of the program. So what I'll do is I'll check that. And I do that by heading into my nominal codes now. So I know it is a bank account that we're going to make inactive, but it's represented by a nominal code. So in order to resolve the ratio issue, we head over to nominal codes. Simply click into there. And at the top of the screen, you'll see a list of icons here. And one there states ratio. So we're going to click on the ratio button, and it'll bring up what the ratio is. Essentially, a list of your nominal codes, balancing them against each other. So whatever you've got in debit against whatever you have in credit, and it gives you out an overall balance at the bottom. And you can add or delete nominal codes from this list to what you want to see. Now, because we're going to be making a record inactive, that's the one that I want to remove from this list. So I'd want to delete this. And once I've deleted it, apologies, what I would do there is press my F8 key. You may have to hold down another button on your keyboard, depending on what kind of keyboard it is, in order to activate the F8 key. For me, mine is labeled FN. And I would hold that key down and press F8 at the same time, and it'll ask me if I want to delete that entry. Remove it from the ratio calculation. Yes, I do. So I'll click yes. Then my ratio has been adjusted. It now no longer includes the nominal code. The balance would have changed to removed if there was a balance indeed. I'll click save. Then I am free to make this account inactive. There you are. Inactive in the column there, and I can also hide it in the top right-hand corner and bring it back if I want to. Again, completely up to you. Good question coming there. What is the purpose of the ratio account? Well, essentially, it is just a balancing calculation where you can pit one nominal code or a set of nominal codes against the others. So you'll have your debits balanced against your credits, and it'll give you an overall balance at the bottom there. You can add and subtract what nominal codes you want to be in this list. You can print that list as well as a mini little report. So gross profit margin could be calculated, net profit margin, etc. Depends on what you want to be included in here. I could spend another 45 minutes going through this, if I'm honest with you, so I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to avoid that. But yeah, you can subtract and delete control with FN and F8 or just the delete button there. Completely up to you. But as long as, back to subject matter, as long as that bank account has been removed from the ratio, then it is free to be made inactive. That's probably the most complex part of making a record inactive, is when it comes to bank accounts. And again, to reactivate records, simple as opening the record itself, removing that tick, and then just clicking the save button. Nice and easy. So just to repeat what I've said a couple of times, you can see why now this is going to be good for your questions at the quiz tomorrow. So have no fear, you should be well equipped on Friday, you should be well equipped for the questions that we're going to ask on inactive records and reactivating them. On the subject of reactivating them, let's go back to the slides. And if you have downloaded the slides, you'll notice on the ratio section there is more information, bottom right-hand corner. So if you downloaded the handout, you can click on there and you'll get more information on ratio. So a little summary on how to reactivate event record, remove a flag. As Michael pointed out before, you can, on the batch change, input the flag and then remove the flag again, and it will reactivate those accounts if you are using batch. I believe that was an earlier question that was asked. So we went through the demonstration, reactivating the accounts as well. Let's see if there's any further questions that have come in. Excellent, okay. I think Michael's on top of them all for now, which is brilliant. Superb. So while we're mopping up the remainder of the questions, you can always find out more with these links here. Again, download the handout and you click on every single one of them. How to flag a single record and multiple records. The reasons why you can't flag them is probably the one where I would go to. Because at least then if you solve that, you've got the ability to do the top, haven't you? If you use batch changes, then obviously that's going to be a key one at the same time. So send your questions in now. We'll get them answered. Again, a lot of the answers are in the handout or in the questions that we've answered through the last half an hour. Further to that, we have more webinars for Sage 50 accounts and Sage 50 payroll coming. You'll be familiar with the site sage.co.uk/webinars. You'll also see our social videos that we do on a weekly basis now on YouTube, where we are on camera telling you what's coming up in the forthcoming week. So if you do see us, give us a like, give us a comment, click on one of the links to get registered. And we've got more badging events coming up, one in September for report design, or Rep Des, as some may call it. That is beginning on the 2nd of September. So go to sage.co.uk/webinars, look at the 2nd of September, and you will see the first report design webinar in the series, and that's a badged event as well. More information on the website for that one. Quite excited for that one. Michael's put a lot of work into creating some perfect slides for you all to enjoy. But I think that's the questions have dried up. So as always, I'm going to thank you for your attendance, for paying attention. Also, if you've clicked along, well done. If not, click along when you rewatch the video, if you can do. What I would always ask for you is to complete the survey as you leave. It only takes 30 to 40 seconds to do, but it's what we develop using. We read every single comment that comes through, and we run badged events based on your feedback. What do you want to see? What did you like? What didn't you like? You know, we really love it when you tell us what you do like, because we do that more. But if you could fill in that survey, that would be absolutely fantastic. Other than that, thank you very much for your time today, and hopefully we'll see you all at the quiz on Friday. Speak soon. Bye for now.